I'm going to have to speak long enough to cover the two of you, but I'm going to be pretty brief if I can. So I'm just going to limit myself to Noah's life story in 3 parts. I'm Noah's brother, his older brother, and the best man. So the story of Noah's life is called American Gladiator, the Noah Lewis story, as told in 3 parts. Part 1, The Servant. Noah was born in 1989 at the bottom of the Lewis family pecking order. He managed to stay at the bottom of the Lewis family pecking order long after additional siblings were added to the family. This, I think, was largely the result of Noah's physicality. He was very large and very able-bodied, but also very compliant. He had the body of an ox and the mind of a puppy. A smart puppy, I will say, but nonetheless. Noah would be your guy. If you needed someone to go ask mom and dad if we could have ice cream for dinner, Noah would be your ambassador. If you needed someone to help you finish the chores in the nick of time before you disqualified yourself for allowance, Noah would be the guy to ask. If you needed to, this is completely hypothetical, reconstruct the brutality of warfare in the Roman Colosseum, and you needed a volunteer to climb to the top of a hill that was surrounded by thorns and stand on the top of said hill with no shoes or socks on, only to be chased by a 5-year-old wielding a baseball bat. Purely hypothetical, but Noah would be your gladiator. I remember when Noah was 9 years old, I asked him what he wanted to do when he grew up. And his response was this: if and when Caleb played for the NBA, Noah would be a security guard in that stadium. Which is only like a couple of promotions away from sweat tower. But I think Noah would probably be willing to do that as well, because Noah was born a servant. Now all of this leads up to a fateful afternoon at Creation Festival 2003 when I asked or told Noah something to this effect: hey Noah, let's go to the merch stands and look at stuff that we're not going to buy. And Noah's response was, no. It was the no heard around the world, and it leads us to the second part of our story, American Gladiator, the Noah Lewis story, part 2, the leader. So around 2004, 2005, my family moved to Lancaster, and as older siblings were growing up and moving out, Noah began moving up the Lewis family pecking order, mostly by attrition, but nonetheless, he moved up. And this is when we started to see one of history's greatest turnaround tales. In home and especially at church, Noah really started moving into a role as a leader. So if there was any kind of youth group or church event where there was serving or meeting required, Noah would be there. I think there was a year where he pretty much was at a graduation party every night of the calendar year. I don't know how that's possible, but I think Noah made that happen. If you needed a guy to help make a series of mildly amusing videos to be used at a youth event, Noah would team up with Vincent Sensenake and write, produce, direct, and star in a series of tremendously epic films that featured a sprawling cast and a really intricate plot and even a few concealed firearms. So I don't know how we got away with that. And if you needed somebody to help lead a group of teenagers during a youth camp in 2012 through a series of teaching and fellowship and general shenanigans, Noah would be there. And in 2012, Katie was there too, which leads us today to the third part of the story, American Gladiator, the Noah Lewis story, part 3, the husband. So, this part of the story hasn't really been written yet, but Noah, you have found yourself an excellent wife, and I do think you have all the makings of a pretty good husband. Pretty good's about as good as it gets. But breaking you on a curve, I'll say, you have all the makings of an excellent husband, and that's because you've spent your entire life practicing the 2 things that husbands are called to do, and that is to lead and to serve. You practice them in reverse order, but you serve and you led. Now, life has its challenges. So the way in marriage, it's not necessarily always going to be as easy as asking for ice cream or, going to youth camp. In fact, sometimes it's not even going to be as easy as being chased by a 5-year-old with a baseball bat. But I can guarantee you with an excellent wife like Katie, it's going to be far more rewarding and joyful and satisfying than any of the serving or the leading that you've ever done. So with that, raise a glass to the husband and the wife and many happy years.